Welcome. Here we are. First Monday of the month. Your Pondcast crew is with you. What's going on, guys?
How you doing, John? Good to see you again.
Good. We were just talking. We've been talking for about 40 minutes. So I thought we covered that. Did we not? I'm good, though. No, I'm good. Two quick things I want to get out of the way before we start. I think we have a really fun topic for you guys today. I apologize for my absence from last month's podcast. I was in the process of moving. I am now in a new space. You'll notice the vigilant watchers will notice a new setting for me. I live in Bayside, Queens now, New York, which actually, why are you shaking your head?
I just think you're so much cooler than the rest of us.
That's true. Well, this is the weird thing. This is the weird thing about living in New York as like an animal guy, is that there's not a lot of wildlife, obviously, or at least that's what you would think, you're led to believe. But the park system actually has more wildlife and more stuff going on than you would think. And I'm right by the water now, so one of the nesting areas for diamondback terrapins on the on the coast is actually right by where my apartment is.
Nice.
So there's some of that, but actually I've been looking into there's more birds, a lot of birds in the parks. But there's a park right next to me called Crocheron Park. Anyone from New York will know it as the place that, if you're from Queens, is the place that you go to drink when you're underage, as my understanding. But there's also, they have a pond and they have turtles there. I've been told. I haven't gone down there yet since it got warm. But actually, Tony, you went out herping today, right?
I did, and it's wonderful because
good day too, I hear.
Yes, a wonderful day actually. Considering it was about 37 degrees out, and I caught 3 spotted turtles, so it's pretty cool.
That's big.
Yeah.
Where did you
go? Well, I went to an old a cranberry bog. That's not a cranberry bog anymore. So it's perfect.
Okay.
The water's really acidic, and it's shallow, but it's always there. So, and there's a very seldom traveled road that runs through there. The whole time I was there, which was probably only 20 minutes, it was very productive 20 or 30 minutes. There wasn't one car that passed. So I think that's probably why the population is still doing well. It's kind of hidden. But we found 3 males that were just kind of sitting there. They were really easy to catch. I didn't bring a net or anything. I just went to look, and I ended up catching 3 of them. So they're getting out nice and early and getting ready to.
What time did you go?
The females. It was about, I want to say about 10:15, 10:30 in the morning. So
cool. Yeah,
they were just coming out. I bet if we were out there 3 hours later, we would have seen a lot more.
Just to clarify for our viewers, we should also make sure to say that they were re-released. This was just a catch to find them and then put them right back where they were.
Right. If I didn't even really want to catch them. I just when a turtle is at your feet, it's kind of hard not to reach down and pick one up and take a look at it. So for me, it is.
Well, and we've talked about that in some of our videos. We've talked about that. You want to catch them. Hopefully, the idea is that they're they're then getting a fear of humans, so they stay away from the next 400-pounder that comes jogging by.
I'm only 302 pounds, John. I've been losing weight.
My bad.
Thank you.
That's good though. That's a spotted. Are spotteds making a little comeback or no? I mean, that's I feel like it's surprising that you'd get
probably not. Yeah, they're probably not. This is a really good spot for them. And
you just got lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I see them every time I go there. I see a bunch, but like I said, I think this is just a perfect diamond in the rough spot, and I think someone's been catching them there because I saw some muck from the water was pulled up onto the shore, like if someone was catching some turtles with the net. So I was a little upset to see that, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
We're gonna have to. Should we make a video there, or we think that'll be revealing the spot too much?
I've already made a couple of videos from there. I've tried to make sure that the footage is not encrypted as best I can.
Yeah. So okay.
I got little footage today. I had someone with me,
you did?
I had them film me for a moment.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty great. It's great. All day. Yeah.
That's good. Listen. Tis the season. We're getting to that. This is the time of year when
Nice little
we're gonna
Monday.
get that stuff going. Yeah, it's beautiful. Second important thing, if you look right, where is it? Right there is our sponsor for this month, Snakes at Sunset. They are. I checked out their website a little bit. Look like a pretty good operation. They are out of Miami, correct?
Yes, yeah, Miami, Florida.
Out of Miami, Florida. I guess they have a storefront down there, and they have the website. So if you're in Miami, go check out what's going on down there. Yeah, there's a picture of the website. They have a lot of cool stuff available. Actually, a lot of different type. Amphibians always get lumped into their own thing. I was thinking about that today. I wonder, are there newt people? I don't maybe I've talked about this before. Are there newt like we're turtle people? Are there newt people? Do you think?
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like they must be so like I have like we all have chips on our shoulders a little bit about the the lack of respect that turtles get. Imagine what newt people feel like. That must be rough. There's your newt. There you go. Newts for sale. Perfect. They're so hard to keep, right? Are not newts harder to keep? I feel like when I was a kid, I had 100 newts, and they all managed to escape and die.
Where'd you get them from?
We had ones from. Well, we go out. When I was a kid, we used to go out every year to the first. We would go to like the newt mating session. Did I ever take? You didn't come with me, did you, Tone?
No, you always tried to invite me, but I never went.
Yeah, it was cool. It's a very cool thing. But there's actually, newts are everywhere. We went hiking last year in right by my parents' house in Richfield, and there was a hiking trail that we saw like literally 25 newts. It was after it was kind of a humid day in the middle of the summer, and they were just hanging out, just being newts.
What type of newts? Do you know what type they are? What species?
They were the little red ones. I want to call them red,
like nymphs, like the eastern newt.
Yeah, that sounds right. I don't remember. I have pictures. Did I send you? I didn't send. I sent pictures. I thought so we could put them. We could use them, and we never did.
That's the species that has like two life cycles. It lives as like a salamander and a newt, and like when they get older, they turn like green or something, or vice versa.
They do change color, yes.
One part of their life they're green with red spots, and another part of their life they're the opposite.
They're red, red with dark green spots.
I think they're.
I think that's when they're babies. I think.
I think they're very attractive. I like them.
They are. They're very pretty.
Once in a while. Yeah,
very pretty.
I was out with Michael Musnick tracking some North American wood turtles, and I had to delay our progress when I was like jumping through puddles trying to catch some of those so I could take a closer look at them, like a little kid.
They are very pretty. They have big. Most reptiles I feel like are like this, but they have the big smiles. They're a beautiful little thing. It's easy to step on them too. If anyone is just in the woods or anywhere near a wetlanded area, you gotta watch where you're going because they are very small and you will. Like we saw, for every one that we saw one that was also just the guts and hide of it that had been. Mm-hmm. So very sad.
Right in my hometown, there's a hiking trail where you could find marbled salamanders, spotted salamanders, Jefferson
are the really ugly ones, right?
And blue spotted, I believe, and then we also have the blue spotted and the Jefferson hybridized with each other, and they're very rare. They're endangered. So, like when you find them, the DEEP, the Department of Environmental and Energy Protection, or whatever it is, in Connecticut, wants you to fill out a form when you find any of them to let them know. So.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I haven't done it yet, but.
Of course not.
Well, I don't usually go flipping over rocks. I'm usually.
How do they hybridize? I don't understand that. What's the rules for what species can hybridize?
There aren't rules per se. Part of the idea is the harder they are, the farther apart they are genetically, the harder it is to hybridize. And so within the same genus is most common, and that's why we even have a completely different term for subspecies. They're intergrades. It's because they're the easiest to have that happen. And then the farther back you get, the harder it is to hybridize. Although even in the turtle world, we've seen cases where species in the same species across family or across genuses have bred in both Asian turtles and in American turtles. You have there are slider map mixes, which are even farther apart than the map diamondback mixes, which have also occurred. And in the Asian turtles, there have been hybrids between Cora and Maremes and Cicalia, I believe, and it's just a mess in some, depending on who's doing what.
Right.
There's even I was just looking yesterday at the hybrid section in Holger Vetter's book, the Asian turtles book, and I thought there were hybrids between. That was a cat.
That was a cat. Yes, it was.
Yeah, a black cat. That's good. This is gonna be a good show. The black cat crossed in front of John's screen. I thought there were hybrids across Asian species and South American species. I thought.
Yeah, right. Because Rhinoclemys is in the Geomida family, so
exactly.
That's probably possible to happen.
Exactly. I thought it was Rhinoclemys and Maremes possibly. So that's Rhinoclemys are South American wood turtles, and Maremes are like I don't know, what would you call them, Steve? Mediterranean pond turtles or Asian pond turtles?
Asian is what Maremes would be considered. Old. The term often used is old world pond turtles because it kind of covers Mediterranean, the Asian, kind of the the stuff that Columbus didn't so-called discover. So
Columbus is so accomplished.
Columbus discovered turtles? I didn't know that. I thought he was just an America guy.
Right.
Well, he discovered the New World, and hence the New World turtles are, as a result of, that's why they're called the New World turtles, is because they were, in the area that he discovered called the New World.
That's the New World and Old World monkeys is the big thing that they say that, right? That's one of the big animal species where they're divided into that. New World being like the chimpanzees and the higher primates, and the Old World being like gibbons and marmosets and whatever the other little.
Yeah, the African stuff versus like the South American, etc. Yeah.
Right. Families, just generally speaking, genetically, families are more likely to be. They're closer, so they're more likely to be generally hybridized within the last long period of evolution, over the last million years.
More are closer together than what?
I'm just than anything out of its family.
Family, other than in turtles, other than the the ones that we were talking about, the Geomyidas, some of those, and then the couple things that Graptomus and Trachomus have hybridized with. There aren't a whole lot of cross-family cross-family or subfamily stuff that I've seen in Colonians.
Okay. Interesting. All right,
it's within the genus that we've seen the most hybridizations.
The genus.
Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Very good stuff. An interesting side note that we got to there. I want to get into our main subject. That Steve, the link that you just put up. What is that? Do we want to talk about that right now?
Up to you. It's just another story of extinction, or not extinction, but of endangerment.
Right. Okay. Well, that may tie in. So before we get to that, let's introduce the general topic that we wanted to talk about. So this is something that I've been thinking about for a while, and I knew I needed to have a good idea and topic to discuss after not showing up for the last podcast. So I've been thinking about this for a while. And Steve, if you can put up the oneearth.org, the thing about should we really save the Devil's Hole pupfish?
Yes.
A little bit of that article. So I was looking at this article, and it raised an interesting question. The Devil's Hole pupfish is a very small fish that is localized entirely to one basically well system, natural well system in the in Death Valley. It's a pupfish species. There's about 100 left in the world because it's only this one location. And this article, which is very interesting, and you should take a look at it paints it in a light of they're obviously an interesting species, and they could be useful just to, any species we can learn stuff about evolution, about where things come from, and where, how and why things develop and life develops the way that it is. But the question that this article kind of posed is it, at the same time, whatever value they may have, is it really worth it to spend a lot of money and to save them? And it's a hard question. And I was thinking about, I read this article, and I had already also been thinking about just it's kind of a faux pas to admit, but there's a lot of species, there's a lot of animals that I just don't like. I think that's right. Everyone should have one at least that you don't like, right? Maybe that's incorrect. I don't know, but like I'm pretty much all the species except for dogs, all the species that have developed and found their evolutionary niche as just being like close to humans, I pretty much don't like most of them. Seagulls being the main one, like seagulls just kind of hanging out by the beach and picking up our loose hot dogs, like you are a despicable evolutionary animal, and I don't respect you. What else?
I think they're opportunistic in a good way. Actually, I was speaking to Chris Leone about this because I asked him what he thought when I was trying to figure out what my answer would be if I had to pick one. And
well, don't jump ahead too far.
Well, he said raccoons. I just wanted to tell you.
Yeah. So raccoons. I think that's a perfect. This is a kind of a crude analogy, but in the days of slavery, there was kind of a back and forth. I think it was kind of more. It's nothing like that.
Really it sounds really.
No,
crude.
just listen. No, this is a good analogy.
So far, it's not. Continue.
Well, because you didn't let me even finish the sentence.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
In the days of slavery, there was a perceived difference between slaves that worked inside the house and slaves. They thought those slaves had a different perception of themselves than the slaves that worked outside of the house that had kind of a harder. They worked harder, I guess, situations. So there was the house slaves and the field slaves were perceived as different, but at the end of the day, they were both slaves. So they didn't, them being whatever, it wasn't important for them to be opposed to each other. But I feel like in the animal kingdom, raccoons and cats are the house slaves. They are the ones that they think they're probably better than the outdoor animals. But the outdoor animals are the ones that actually have, they're definitely tougher and they go through more. They are directly in line of the circle of life. So that's again. I'm digressing, and this is now that I put her in front of the camera, she thinks she's okay to just be chilling here. That was a mistake on my part.
That was a horrible analogy that you made, I think. Too.
I thought that wasn't a good analogy.
No, not at all. I don't think so at all.
Fine.
We made cats. They're not even.
Right, but I'm saying that's what I'm saying. We made cats and they developed they didn't need any skill to survive except being liked by humans. That's kind of a despicable thing, in my opinion. Whatever, it doesn't need to be, the analogy doesn't have to be perfect, but that's just my opinion. So these two things, this article about the devil's hole pupfish and my thoughts on species of animals that I don't like, led me to have this question, so I'm going to now pose it and all three of us are going to discuss it. And honestly, I don't think that this scenario is a crazy thing that could never happen. We're going to say that we'll go with it, you say the United Nations. The United Nations is creating a new post. We're gonna call it the United Nations Environmental Ambassador, or the whatever it is. So the environment is going to get a seat at the United Nations, and all of the conservation organizations and the societies and everyone that is into that are then going to be beholden to this one post. So it's kind of like a president of environmentalism. is the idea. Which I don't think that's that crazy to think of, because if you got the WWF, the World Wildlife Foundation, and the Conservation
The WWF
Society,
right here in Stanford. WWF.
Shut up. If you got a couple of the large conservation organizations to be into that and to say, listen, we're going to put our money to wherever this person who we know has the best interests of the environment and the earth at heart, we're going to back them, then the smaller organizations would have to be, what are they going to do? Just not do it, and they're going to have less money.
My concern with something like that is it's going to be as much of a political post as anything, just like
of course
anything is. And so really the first priority for this person is not going to be the animals and the environment. It's going to be
right. Well, that's all right. And you're right.
Post and pushing whatever agenda his political things want to push.
You're 100% right. The real world application of it is that's what would happen. It would be, like Jeb Bush's daughter would become this position, and it would all be ruined. But
that'd be so bad. Jeb Bush doesn't win anything.
It would.
He's the best Bush. He doesn't win anything.
It'd be just as bad if somebody like Michael Mann ended up on it.
Right. Anybody that we know of as a politician, of course, would. That's a separate issue. But say we're looking at it in an idealistic sense. Of course, the way that the founding fathers were, thought that the president would be a good thing. Well, we're saying that this position, let's just, for the sake of argument, you're 100% right, Steve. For the sake of argument, this position has been created, and now this position is going to be in control of all of the funds that go towards conservation on running through the UN. So any countries that are recognized formally by the UN. So that's most of the countries, and that aren't in a direct open rebellion or under warlords or whatever. So the question is, you are inheriting. You're the one who's chosen for this job, and this is, again, we are the three of us are perfect candidates. We are the type of people that we should be in this job. That's why I think our opinions matter on this. So here's the question: you have been given this job, and it's very obvious that there's not going to be enough money to go around for every species of animal, especially every species of animal that is endangered and on the brink of extinction. So you need to make a real-world decision. And you need to say, all right, we're going to let this species take its natural course, which is going to be, we're going to let this go extinct because we don't, either monetarily wise, you don't. I mean, there's a lot of reasons behind it, and I'll let you guys give your answers of why that the species that you chose are going to be on there. But one of them is monetary, or fiscal. We don't have the money to save everything. We don't have the time and energy to save everything. Some things, environmentally speaking, their habitats are just so far gone that they can't be saved. So those are ways to think about it. But that's the question. I think that's an important thing. It's for us. We are always trying to think of everything. I think that people that are concerned about the environment really are broad thinkers, and I think that we need to think about everything and understand that we can't save it all, right? So that's the premise of what I wanted to talk about and pose the question to them, to everybody. If anyone who is listening has an answer or an opinion, or you disagree with something that we say, please let us know. I think that this is going to be divisive. I think that that's kind of the point, is that you're making a hard decision. We're going to be letting something that a lot of people love and a lot of environmentalists everywhere will care about. So Steve, I think we're gonna ask you first. So Steve Enders, you are Steve Enders.
All right.
So we're starting with a broad, not turtle specific, broad, any species of animal in the world. What can we let go? What can we basically defund and say, okay, we're going to let this thing go extinct?
All right.
And why?
So to recap for viewers real quick, we are hypothesizing a new position in charge of all environmental things around the globe, pretty much. And
correct.
This person has to make one decision to let a species go extinct to help save other species. And so the question is, which one are we letting go? And I can't believe you asked me first. I was going to let you two take a couple angles and then come in and look like the smart guy and drop a couple more.
Tony, Tony, if you want to go first, then we can. Tony can go first. That may make more sense.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got this. I'm ready. That was weird. You ready?
Yeah, so Tony, Anthony Pirleone, you have been inaugurated as the UN ambassador to the Earth. Begin by defunding an animal that we know is just too far gone at this point.
Okay. Well, when I try to think about high-profile animals that have gone extinct in the past, I think about subspecies of the Galapagos tortoise, like Lonesome George, and I also think of like the dodo bird and some of the mascarin tortoises as well. That's just what comes to mind in my little brain, right? And I think about some of the species that have gone extinct recently, like some of the beautiful little frogs and toads in Costa Rica that were wiped out by that unknown illness that they can't figure out, and how the mainstream public doesn't know about that, but they know more about things like panda bears, rhinos, tigers, things of that nature. I also know that there are more tigers living in captivity in Texas than there are in the wild. Now, I read that in a book, so it has to be true, right? In Forbidden Creatures. Forbidden Creatures. Really interesting book. So, anyway, my first thought was to maybe go with the tiger because it's so well represented in captivity. But there was a very good... See how I did my homework on this?
You did?
There was a very good article, and I'm not sure if this was the guy, but a gentleman, a British wildlife expert by the name of Chris Packman, basically talked about how much money goes into saving the giant panda and how those funds, how we need to be smart about how we use funds like that. And there was someone, I'm not sure if it was him or not, but I remember reading something where someone said, if it was a conservationist who said, if we could let the giant panda go extinct to save every other species, he would do it in a heartbeat. And he got a ton of negative attention for that, but probably positive attention. Any press is good press. So I couldn't help but think about that when you came up with this, because a high-profile species dying off like that can be so important for educating people on what needs to happen. And the giant panda has like no habitat left at all. So if you save it, what are you saving it for? You're saving it for, are you going to put it into, like, when people move out of condo complexes, are you going to put it back? You're going to give it a one-room apartment? Or, like, I mean, we've kind of already have done the damage. I'm not saying kill the panda, but I just think, I'm trying to make a very difficult argument to make that the damage is already done.
It's like you're saying kill the panda.
I'm just saying kill the panda. No, my thought too was like pick a turtle species, because if you're an expert on turtles, not that I'm an expert in anything, but if I am an expert in anything, it's especially animal related, it's turtles. So pick one using that knowledge. But I guess I just wanted to be a little ignorant on this one and pick an animal that I don't know a lot about, but know a little bit about. And if you, I mean, use Lonesome George as an example. It's really not a big deal. If a panda went extinct, it would be a huge deal. So I think that's something that it would help to be mindful of in this situation. Just saying.
So are you picking the panda? You're saying you're letting the giant pandas die.
I am regretfully picking the giant pandas. When I asked my wife about this, she said great white sharks, and that's when I first decided I should go with something other than a turtle or tortoise. And when I asked her why great white sharks, she said, well, because they're scary and they eat humans, and because they eat seals, and seals are adorable.
They eat humans.
I wanted to share that. I told her I would.
That's great.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me one bit either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured she'd pick a turtle that I keep just to like
lower the count.
Yeah, just to kick a brother in the ding ding just because she can. But
I think that's a really good and interesting point. Are you saying you think that by eliminating the panda that will actually do more good because it'll be like a Lonesome George, it'll be a symbol, like you're saying, okay, now this is gone, we let this die, so let's not let this happen to the next thing. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I can't remember of like a really, really high profile animal that died during like in the world we live in today with media and everything else. So like, some small frogs that no one knew existed die in Costa Rica.
Right.
That matters to frog people like it would matter to us when turtles go extinct. But the dodo bird and the Tasmanian tiger and some animals that would be a big deal now, they became extinct long before CNN. So I think
right.
that's
a good point. What has gone, like, in our lifetime, has something? What's the highest profile thing that's gone extinct? And it's probably, we probably don't know. Like, there's not very. It's Lonesome George, but I mean, it's not like that's just subspecies, obviously, like you said. So
there's a lot of species.
A lot of little things.
All the time, and they're not little things. They're not. Like, I would be.
Well, like what then?
I would be really mad if the Vietnamese pond turtle actually was extinct. It was extinct in the wild for a while, and then it's made a comeback because of captive breeding. But like, I would be really mad if we lost that species. I would be devastated, and and rightfully so. And to anyone else, it would just be a little species. So why is that a little species, and something else is not?
Right.
It's putting a very human-based value on species that. Who says one is more important than the other?
Well, that's really the point. Is that you do. You're the ambassador to the Earth, so you do.
I'd be happy if I did get to be the ambassador to the Earth because turtles would become the new pandas.
Well, I do think it's a really interesting point, and it's a good point that it's the symbolism of it would matter. Whereas right now we've made it a symbol of things coming back, and actually, I mean, so I'm going to go right into my choice because it was perfect because I went the exact opposite direction of you. Pandas are actually rebounding in the wild. There's much more pandas now than there was in 1990. That's been one of the relative success stories because of the symbolism of it. That's not the main reason that I chose what I did, but what?
I told you that I didn't know what I was talking about, so forgive me.
No, I know. You don't have to defend yourself. That's the point of this, is for us to say something that may not make sense, because it's our opinion. As long as it's our opinion, then we can say whatever we want. But I think so. I think that the giant panda is, and because it's already established itself as a symbol, I think that it's important to keep them alive for that reason. And I think there's also geopolitical reasons. I kind of went geographic on mine. And this is going to affect and probably upset both of you and myself for reasons that you'll see when we get there. But I think that it's important that the pandas, for these two reasons, again, the symbolism, like I said, I think that it's important that they are, we show that there can be good. I don't know if we can scare people. I don't think, if people aren't scared already of things that have gone away, then I don't think that another large thing is going to scare them. Like, we pretty much were. We didn't, but we pretty much killed all the buffalo. That was, we didn't really. I don't know how scared people were about that. That was one of the main things, and that's one of the big American things. And I did think about that, like, okay, maybe that's a thing. When I thought about that from your perspective, like, let's let something big die and have it be a symbol. And if we wanted the most people to care about it, it would have to be something American. Well, I guess not the most people, but the most people that are listening to our podcast, it would have to be something American. So that the American bison would be a big thing. But I chose to go away from the panda route because I also think that I went, geographically, I think it's important that the Chinese species are the things, and the Asian species, I think that they're important because of the importance of China and the Far East in the future of the world. Their population is so large, and their political influence is continually growing and has for a long period of time. So I think that I wanted to protect those, put the money towards the Asian species. I was thinking specifically, like, I really don't want to see a Yangtze River turtles. I don't want to see them go extinct. I want to put as much money as I can in that. What I decided to call a lost cause, but I think is also something. It's a similar argument that it ends up being that, okay, we're giving up on this, and that's hopefully we're making a point. But I'm going with all of the species, the collective species of lemurs. Obviously, they only live on Madagascar, and I think that Madagascar is the perfect example of something that we spend so much time and effort on, and it's already what's done is done. The damage is done in Madagascar. I don't think we're getting that back. I don't think that there's. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna give it the boot. I don't want to give any more money to a corrupt African nation that is been so unaware that it's gotten to this point. That's already gotten to this point where China, at least China is so big that there's still potential that they could do the right thing, and there's so much rural area there. Whereas Madagascar is not a small country geographically, but it's small enough that I don't know how much progress can be made. I think that what's done is done on Madagascar, and I think that it will serve the same purpose as, especially, what's that? There's a movie called Madagascar, and all those things are now dead. I think that will matter, and that will also matter to children more. And children are, if you would believe the great pop singers of the '90s, are our future. So let's get them mad now by killing off something that they like, and then hopefully they'll be pissed in 10 years, 20 years when they are the United Nations ambassador to the world.
John, you mentioned
that was my choice.
You mentioned the Raphitus swinhoi, the Yangtze River turtle, the giant soft-shell turtles.
Yeah.
I was going
basically already gone, right?
Yeah. I was going to pick them. There's 3 males and 1 female, and the female has laid eggs but hasn't laid any fertile eggs, so they're probably gone already, and that's why I was going to pick them. But my thought was that it won't be an impact. It won't matter because it's been kind of a slow process, and they kind of are already gone. If they do end up producing any viable young right now, it would be really exciting. But I think if they die, it wouldn't.
Either way, the gene pool is too shallow. They're going to be gone. I mean, they're gone whether we choose to defund them or not. That's probably true. But I think that I would like to make it a show of this is where we're putting our foot down and we're trying. Whereas the Devil's Hole pupfish, which I think was the point of that whole thing, was I think that we should not, like, they just built a $4 million what university was it? I think it was University of Washington or something. One of the Western colleges. I think it's in one of those articles. One of the Western colleges made a large, what is it called? Building.
Mm-hmm.
Facility. I couldn't think of the word facility. A large facility designated to try and rehabilitate the Devil's Hole pupfish. Why are we spending $4 million on it? I love
that. I love that, John. And I'll tell you why I love that. Because it's local to them, and it gives the students an opportunity to learn something that is extremely significant and unique that you can't get anywhere else. So it's something that the college can use as a feather in their cap, and it's private money that would. I mean, have you visited a college lately? I mean, they absolutely steal their students' money, and I love to see it going into something that. In
the real world, yes. In the real world, yes. But wouldn't you rather have $4 million towards whatever thing? I mean, I guess a part of this, obviously, the interesting question is to say what would we let live or what would we let die. But would you rather have $4 million put towards whatever thing that you think really needs to live? Which is probably another question that we can ask that I didn't really research. What I think is the most important thing to save. I think that it would be an interesting. Thing to get to. I don't know if you want to talk about that too, but I'd rather have $4 million towards the Yangtze River turtle if that's what as a for instance. They may be too far gone, but I'd rather have it towards the pandas even. Put it towards the pandas. Put it towards the orcas. Put it towards anything other than a little pup. You know what pupfish are? Did you see the picture? Who cares? No. Who cares?
I care.
Inch long.
Yeah, we're talking about an inch-long fish that lives down we discovered them in like the last 100 years because they're down this giant crater in the earth that the only way to get down there is to have modern climbing technology or to be a crazy Navajo guy that just sticks his head and goes. But there,
Look what's happening on the West Coast with them drilling for groundwater right now, and what it's doing to our climate and to the climate out there, and the fact that they're not getting rain now because of things like that. This species can be a huge help in understanding how important the world is down there.
Holes in the ground are?
Yes, absolutely. We thought it wouldn't be a big deal to drain groundwater, and now we're ruining home because we think we're smart. And we're the same people who release cane toads in Australia because we're trying to control pests.
Well, that would be a good one to eliminate,
to
let them die. Let the cane toads die.
We're idiots. Don't let the cane toads die. Just don't bring them to Australia. Just, how about this? Don't do anything stupid. That'd be How about this? Let 20% of the human population die. That was the answer I wanted to go for.
That's a thing that we've all thought about it, right? We were all thinking it.
Just not me.
Right. Everyone, as long as people you don't know.
Truth be told, sometimes I feel like the whole survival of the fittest thing doesn't really work that way with the humans anymore, because it seems like the least fittest are the ones who are making the most offspring.
You just stole my senior quote. If I was back in high school, I'm a social worker, so this is what I do. It's the people who have we had this conversation, Steve. The people who have,
I think we have
college degrees and are working really hard to pay off their loans and everything are thinking about kids and thinking, I don't know. And yeah, absolutely, society reverses natural selection for sure. And also grows the population exponentially, forever and ever and ever.
But is the answer actually? I mean, what would that? I mean, obviously this is at least semi-hypothetical. But would it help if we killed 20% of the people? I don't think that would actually help. We would just have more babies.
They'd be back in a year's time.
Or is there a rule in China about how many offspring you can have?
There was at one point. I don't know if it still is in existence or not.
How do you enforce that? Just like when someone gets pregnant?
I'm not sure if that's true anymore.
Well, I don't know. I didn't know if they ever did or not, or if I just heard that. Maybe it was a racist person telling a joke. I don't know.
Oh no, it did happen at one point. Chinese were only allowed to have one child for a while.
I'm looking to John. No offense, Steve. You're helping me more than John is, but John is a damn history major. I'm looking for a little help here.
Yeah, I don't. That's one of those things that like you always heard about, but I couldn't tell if it was we were just afraid of the communist thing.
Right.
So
yeah. Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
I have definitely heard that multiple times, many times, but I don't know if it's. I mean, I've never been to China. I've never been to the land of China. So let's go.
I guess it's my turn now, huh?
Yeah, it is your turn. We can all assume that people are the ones. We all want the people to die, but let's stick to the. We can't. Listen, you're gonna lose your job as the ambassador to the Earth real quick if that's what your pitch, Tom. That's a Simpsons thing. Groundskeeper Willie does that. If elected mayor, my first act would be to kill the whole lot of you. All right. So Steve.
All right. So in some ways, you both kind of went the same direction. Killing off something that's fairly high profile, draw some attention, etc. And that's one of the ways I considered going. One of the other ways, as you guys have kind of alluded to already, is picking a species that's pretty much already extinct anyway, because it's probably going to happen whether we pump money into it or not. Right. But most of them wouldn't be noticed by anybody either to draw attention to the plight of other animals either. So in some ways, that's the problem with going with that direction. I mean, just in our own colonial world, there's a number of choices for that. We've already mentioned the Rafita swinhoy. There's also...
well, I do, Steve, for the record, I do want to go specifically... I want to ask all three of us have a colonian, too, to get rid of. That's going to be the next thing. So just...
And I think of other similar species in similar situations to that. I think it's I know it's Chilodina mccordy. I can't remember if it's the rotiensis. One of the 3 subspecies, I can't remember which one off the top of my head, is for all intents and purposes extinct in the wild as well.
What's the common name? What's the common name for everyone? The McCord snakeneck?
Yeah, but there's 3 subspecies now. One's the Timor Island, one's the East Rhode Island, and the other's McCords. I can't remember which one of the 3 it is. I just know it's one of the McCordy subspecies. And then, I also think of, in some ways there might be some validity to picking some species that draws negative attention toward reptiles and or turtles, and not to upset the snake people, but some of them would probably, no matter how much they love the animals, in some ways you almost have to wish some of the giant snakes wouldn't be around, just because then they wouldn't draw the negative attention that they're currently drawing, even though they may not even be worthy of the negative attention. It's there, and if you remove that negative attention, how much more good can you do by removing that negative attention? And so, in some ways, I think you could almost put the red-eared slider in that basket because of how much they destroy other habitats, how much they outcompete other species, how overblown they are in the hobby, how many people have them, how many get thrown out, how many get left up for adoption, how many yada yada yada. So think about removing the red-eared slider, and how much more are other species going to succeed in the wild because the red-eared slider isn't in those 160 nations it's not supposed to be in, outcompeting other animals. But then again, killing off the red-eared slider is probably the exact opposite of what we want to do, because we want to save money and not spend money.
Yeah, that's very true.
But so I think of all these different kinds of directions that you could really head with something like this, and they all have some kind of validity to them. So these are kind of all the thoughts that are swirling in my head as I contemplate this question. And so there was what was the other I think that was pretty much it. I think there was one other thing that I was thinking, but it's gone temporarily.
So what's your final pick?
And I'd be remiss if I could kill off one of somebody else's favorite animals without saying I'd do the same to one of my own. So I'd have to pick one of the turtles that's all but extinct. And maybe Rafita Swinhoy is the one. Pull all of them out of the wild. Don't worry about them in the wild, and call it done.
Okay.
Because the genetic diversity is never going to be there in the wild to actually really support any kind of sustained longevity and health in the wild. So, pull them out, let some people enjoy them in captivity, take good care of them with somebody else's private buck, and that'll be that.
Okay.
John, do you does it count if they're extinct in the wild and they still exist in captivity? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I mean,
my thought
I would say that
my thought was Lonesome George gone, like no more.
Yeah, I think alive in captivity, it's all that's kind of a matter of time thing, and that's not the actual, living in captivity. They're already changing, I think, their genetics into a different thing. They're not living, they're not free, if you will. So I don't think that's would count. I would say if it's not alive in the wild, then that's my opinion.
So if it's not alive in the wild, but there are some in captivity, that counts?
Let them be in captivity. That's fine, but I don't think that you can consider it saved because there's 3 captive what do you call it, macaw, the blue macaw, or whatever it is, that that doesn't, to me, that doesn't count. So they're all, just consider them extinct for the purposes of this.
Well, this is the reason why I asked, because I would totally take a yellow viewpoint and be a real wuss about it and pick something that wouldn't get me in trouble. So like if I picked, for instance, the Central Kelly's sulcata, the sulcata tortoise, the African spur-thighed tortoise, which is endangered. It's kind of its range is across the thick band in Africa, and it is endangered in Africa, and but it is very well represented in captivity. So let them go extinct in the wild, and then you could develop protected areas to reintroduce them, like has happened with other other species that are extinct in the wild, like the Vietnamese pond turtle that I mentioned. So you could reintroduce them, and I can get away with not causing.
But let's think about so I'm saying. So the point is that if they have captive bred populations, it's gonna take money to block off the land and to reintroduce them. Like we're saying all the way done. Because that's the same. You are exactly copying out. You're doing exactly why no one asks you for advice, because you just say both sides and then say, well, I don't know, though. It's a really hard question. That's
I always do.
The point is to make the hard decision.
I would be the absolute worst member of any debate team.
You are. You already are. You're on a debate team. Yeah.
This is how I am.
So, like you said, Steve, it would be silly of us to just pick an animal that we don't obviously care really closely about and work directly with. So, for the three of us, and I want the three of us to draw from the pool of animals that either we work with directly, the turtle room works with directly, or is like a high-profile turtle or tortoise. That everyone will know what we're talking about. So I want to choose. We have now chosen one for the largest group. We've chosen one for everything, and now we should choose one for our specialty. So if we want to go from there, that was why I didn't want you to choose a turtle before. But I guess red-eared sliders are. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. So Tony, do you want to go first again, or how do we?
Yes, I'll go. That's fine.
Let's just remind our viewers again, in case anybody's just joining us. This is all hypothetical. We're saying, what if we let a species go extinct for purpose of saving others? Now we're just talking specifically about turtles and tortoises.
Right. So so again, I can frame it again. Tony, brought to you today by Snakes at Sunset is this question. You have this hypothetical question. You have been named the UN ambassador to, we'll call it turtles because we're being more specific now. You've been the UN ambassador to turtles. I don't know why you play the graduation song.
Graduation song?
Yeah, I don't know why. That was the first one that came to my head. I can't do. What's the president one?
I was gonna do the British Bulldogs theme song.
No, okay.
Speaking of
you've been given this opportunity, and you have to make a serious decision, a tough decision, a hard call right now, and say there's one. This is the species of turtle that we are going to let them be, and we're going to basically defund, and knowing that that's going to let them go extinct. What is the purpose? And this is now we're choosing again from either the very high-profile turtles and tortoises that we all know and deal with, or preferably from a turtle that you specifically work with, or someone in the turtle room works with. So, Anthony Perleone, you're on first. This is your press conference.
Being the horrible member of the debate team that I am, last guy off.
Don't do this. Don't do it.
I'm sorry. There's three ways you can go. Okay. You either go with the red-eared slider or sulcata tortoise, which is well represented in captivity and can go extinct in the wild and still survive for reintroduction in the future. Or you can go with the species that's kind of a dead turtle walking, like the Yangtze River turtle. Or like we talked about those already. Or a third option is maybe like a newer species, which would be a shame because there's so much research that can be done. But if you pick like, because the alligator snapping turtle was recently was recently split into 3 separate species, and a few of those species are more rare and only occur in one river. Now, this is going to sound ignorant as well, but if you had to maybe lose one, I suppose one of the lesser represented species, and then you always had the opportunity to release a very similar species in its place. That sounds really dumb, but I thought it was at least a third option.
You're trying to figure out a way around. I just want you to make a decision. Make a tough decision. Kill something, Tony.
I'm not just going to kill something. That's not what I do. That's
the point. That's why it's hard. That's why the decision is hard.
No, I'll kill I'll kill a person by accident maybe, but I would never I would never kill an animal on purpose.
My problem with possibly letting one of those alligator snappers go at this point is most of the ones in captivity probably are a muddlement of all 3 new species.
Right.
And so there really aren't necessarily ones of any of those particular species in captivity right now.
Steve, I heard that too, but I would argue that because I think a lot of the people who are breeding them a lot, like John Richards, for instance, Turtle Man, Loggerhead Farms, he's in Missouri, and he's like the biggest alligator snapper breeder. I guarantee you he knows what rivers his turtles came out of.
Oh, no doubt. There's people like him, but I would wager more than 50% nobody knows which river they came out of.
Yeah, but who takes a small alligator snapper they don't know where it came from and grows it all the way up to adulthood and then reproduces them? I think the people who are reproducing them got them before they were protected and have had them. And
That's
have
possible.
some knowledge. I think most. I would say more than half.
Why are they a subspecies then?
Not subspecies. 3 new species.
Like actual species, not subspecies.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So even better. Why? Why do we do that? Why is that happening?
Genetics.
And
they look a little
bones.
different too. Yeah.
Yeah. They've actually done some skull analysis, etc. We posted an article about that I think sometime last week or the week before in our World Turtle News Brief one day. So if somebody's really interested, you can go check out our World Turtle News Briefs and find some more information on that.
Please do. Very good. Very well done. The World Turtle Briefs. So Tony, so you're officially what are you not choosing?
I'm not. Listen, I tried really hard for you. Okay, I stepped outside of my comfort zone.
You actually, you declared the giant panda to be dead, so I'll give you the credit on that.
Gosh, I'm gonna have panda lovers knocking my door down tonight.
So you're not choosing. So you're not choosing a turtle.
You can't make me. You can't. We're obviously in 2 different places. You can't make me do that.
Okay.
Listen, I gave you 3.
I'll make the hard decision. No, you're going to be a bad UN ambassador to the Earth. That's what it comes down to.
No, you know what?
Continue on the current course where everything's going to die because we're spreading all our funds around, and that's fine. You've made your choice. You've killed more things by not being a man and just picking something.
Maybe more politicians should be worse than debate.
It's not about debate. It's about this is just maybe more politicians should be bad politicians. You're saying.
No, maybe they should respect each other and collaborate, like the people from the Turtle Room do.
Right.
All right. Instead of always trying to one up.
We are like a model government. We have a mock government thing going on.
Yeah, it works really well. We have a lot of people involved at different levels and everyone has their niche, and that's how things get done.
Duly noted. Steve, do you want to choose one or no?
Do I want to choose one? Yeah, I'll choose one.
He doesn't want to, though.
You're not supposed to want to. Obviously, Tony, we're not going to actually kill these things. God.
I think he's worried. I think he's worried he's going to really offend somebody, and they're going to come hunt him down and kill him for saying that he wanted to get off their favorite turtle. So
here's my thing. Here's my thing. Listen. You listen to me.
What's your thing?
You listen to me. Sorry, excuse for it. All right, listen. When you All right, my biggest fear for getting on and talking on one of these things, and I'm sure any one of our guests will agree, and I'm sure if you guys think back to when you first came on here as well, you would say the same thing. Your biggest fear is looking like an idiot because you say something stupid in front of someone who's smarter than you. Okay? Now, right?
That hasn't stopped you from our entire relationship.
Well, you know me. It's different. You're smarter than me, but you know me. But listen. It doesn't matter what you say. Like when I said giant pandas and then you started talking, I'm like, oh crap, John sounds really smart and I just sounded really dumb. And then once you said kill the lemurs, you sounded just as dumb as me.
I know.
It doesn't.
That's the point. It's okay to say. We're supposed to be sounding dumb. The hypothetical question is a dumb question. Let's kill something. Obviously, it doesn't make sense.
I'd prefer to at least sound not so dumb, just a little bit less dumb.
But in trying to not sound dumb, my thing is that you are sounding more dumb by not just picking something, by not playing by the rules of the game so that you can save face. It's like you're trying to not piss anybody off so that you're pissing everybody off.
All right, guys,
and by
ready?
Everybody, I mean
ready?
Me.
Ready or slider, sulcata tortoise, plowshare tortoise. Marry one, screw one, kill one. Go.
Kill the red eared sliders.
Don't
marry the plowshare.
Just don't.
What was the third thing?
The sulcata, the one that's actually the size of a human.
I think everyone probably that's listening knows what that noise is.
Oh wow!
If Steve Rozon is watching this, he's laughing.
Oh, no doubt.
He loves that stuff.
I feel like we're degenerating here.
A little bit. All right. Well, let me make my pitch here.
I thought that was the first good moment of the entire show. Continue.
In an effort to actually answer the own question that I have posed, I'm going to continue with my theme. I think that the Madagascar species are something that we need to let go. So that includes, this is what I was getting at the beginning, if anyone's going to be pissed off, it should be you and the rest of the Turtle Room guys, because I'm saying that Pixies arachnoides, we need to let go. We need to let them go. Spider tortoises were just too much. And same with plowshares more so because, listen, we don't, they're done. They're done. Let's just call it before. Let's call the game on a counter rain before the game is over. There's a reason that people go home. There's a home run rule in backyard home run derby because it's not fun to keep going when you know the outcome.
So you're saying all Madagascar species?
I'm saying that those are the example of. That's what I'm choosing a Madagascan species because of the same reason that I gave before as why I would let the lemurs die. So I'm saying the example being the plowshares and/or the spider tortoise, just because I wanted to not cop out. So I know that we work directly with them, and we have, obviously a lot of attachment to them.
Let me remind you of the three other species, and then let me play devil's advocate for you and make you choose one.
Yeah.
Plowshare tortoise, radiated tortoise, spider tortoise.
Radiated is the other way, right?
Spider tortoise, flat-tailed tortoise, which is the flat-tailed spider tortoise, are the same genus as the. So those two, the radiated and the plowshare are the same genus, and the spider and the flat-tailed are the same genus. But then there's also the Madagascar big-headed turtle. So instead of saying all five, which one would you pick?
Right. So if I had to pick one, I would say plowshare because I think those are the most far gone. Those are going to be the hardest because of the fact that they're high profile to some degree. I think that would be the one that I would say we should let them go. I don't know. I mean, and again, I understand the opposite, like Steve's point that just killing something off because it's close to being dead doesn't necessarily help or make it beneficial to any of the other species. But I'm thinking fiscally, like, okay, if we get rid of everything that we've put towards plowshares and put it towards the big-headed, they'll have the one that already has a bit of a leg up may have a better chance to survive. And I don't know enough about obviously the type of environments in Madagascar. There's many environments in each of those turtles, and tortoises live in separate ones. And I know that I don't know enough about that because I have yet to travel to Madagascar. But That's my rationale. I would say because listen, they're far enough gone, and I think that we put effort into it. So let's just forget, let's just not put the effort into something that is already. It's a money pit. It's a charming movie with Tom Hanks. That movie, then the the message that it was sending. The message is let the plowshares die.
My father-in-law made me watch
It does.
that
You're 100% right. I know. It totally. You sound like such an idiot when you say it, but that's the point of this. We're asking a hard question. I'm giving a hard answer, and I'm not going to think twice about it. Leadership.
Like
that's what leadership is.
True imbecile.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Fair enough. So, Steve.
I think, and if I were going to pick one of the Madagascan species, I think I'd actually take the radiated because of how common they generally are in the hobby these days. There's tons of them in the U.S., partly thanks to the Baylor Colonian Center as well, who's had tons of these things that are offspring. And I mean, they have tons of bloodlines and tons of each bloodline, and in some ways can't figure out what to do with some of them either.
And also, thanks to
take one of the Madagascan species, that's where I'd go.
And also, thanks to our friend Michael Ogle, the keeper of the radiated stud book.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up. Do we have, Steve? Is there any questions or anything that we want to? Any last comments from the producer?
I don't have anything, and we really. I'm gonna call a shout out here. We really need you guys who are watching to start sending some more questions in, so we can kind of let you direct the show a little bit. So here's what we're gonna do. Our next show is scheduled for Monday, May 4th. That's the first Monday in May. So you guys have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to send questions to the Pondcast at theturtleroom.com or via Facebook or Google Plus or YouTube for the next show, and we can let you help direct the show a little bit. Some comments. Dead Snakescape from YouTube says, great topic. I actually had the same discussion with a buddy about the dwindling populations of bog turtles and their habitat.
There we go. Bog turtles, that's another interesting one. Like maybe we can another good point. There's so many species that are like that. So please, to also send a shout out like Steve did. Please let us know let us know what you think about this topic. If there's a species of animal or turtle that a larger animal or turtle that you think would benefit, or what you would just choose to let go. It could be based solely on hatred for the species, as in seagulls or raccoons. Or it could be because you think that it'll do an amount of greater good. I think that this is I think it's just a good exercise to think about this. Whether you can man up and actually pick one or not, Tony, I'm not going to judge you on that. I think it's good. The exercise of thinking about it is the most important part.
We should also make another quick public service announcement now that I'm thinking about it. Shout out to ZoomEd and Turtle and Tortoise Preservation Group. In preparations for World Turtle Day 2015, which is on May 23rd.
Ooh, that's coming up.
They are providing free specialized packages for teachers for students grade 2 to 6, which include lesson plans, vocabulary lists, turtle activities and puzzles, etc. So if you are a teacher, know a teacher, and are interested in this free learning package to connect some classroom materials with World Turtle Day, please send an email with the subject title Turtle Day Package to zoomed@zoomed.com with the following information. The teacher's name, the name of the school, full mailing address, grade level, and the number of students in your class. Supplies are limited, so send your requests in as soon as possible. I'm actually going to be passing this on to the other teachers in the middle school I'm currently teaching in, especially to the science teachers, to see if they're interested in kind of hooking up with some of this to have some fun World Turtle Day activities.
That sounds great. Definitely check that out. Also, go to the Snakes at Sunset website, or if you're in Miami and you're in between mojitos, go check out their storefront.
That's great.
There again, another picture of the website. Please don't kill any of the species that we talked about killing. Let's not take that decision into our hands until we've become the president of the Earth. All right, so that's it for us. I think we're going to sign off now. I'm John. For Steve and Tony, we've all been breathing out of our butts for most of this time.
You've been talking out of yours.
Oh, good one.
Nailed it.